Okay, this is a basic introduction to compressors, the idea of a compressor, what it's for, and how they work. I've got this track again, and I've kept our voiceover on it, and I've kept the Polish gentleman talking because, again, I want you to listen to the sound, not the words. And if we just take a chunk of the waveform, let's listen to this chunk and put that on cycle, so this just cycles round.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową. Witam Państwa.
If we look at the waveform, for example, we can look at it in the sample editor, you can see that it's not all the same volume. There are loud bits and quiet bits. This is called the dynamics of the sound. And generally, things like consonants tend to be quite loud. K's, T's, B's, D's, etc. And vowels tend to be quieter. So have a look at this.
Panie i panowie, witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową.
This bit here, for example, is there's a very quick, loud bit in that, and that defines the overall volume that we can turn this up to. I could turn that up until that's at maximum. If I turn it up any higher, it will distort. So that, the loudest bit in this file, determines how loud it can be. And then this bit is much quieter. What a compressor enables us to do is to level it out. So I can turn down the quiet bits and then turn the whole thing up. To put it another way, inside a compressor is your mum. Let's go to the insert strip on this channel strip, go to Dynamics and choose a mono compressor. Okay, I'm going to set everything so that no compression occurs at all.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową.
Now, the controls in a compressor are simple to understand. The compressor threshold is the point at which the volume is loud enough for your mum to shout, "Oi, turn it down." So any sound that's under the threshold will not be turned down, but any sound that goes above the threshold will immediately be turned down. Watch what happens as I gradually lower the threshold.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową. Witam Państwa serdecznie na...
In this bar up here that shows gain reduction, the compressor starts to turn down the voice.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową.
This control, the ratio button, or ratio control, determines how much you turn it down by. Do you only turn it down half a turn, or a quarter of a turn, or a whole turn? Watch what happens as I increase the ratio control.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową. Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej...
The attack time determines how quickly you respond when your mum shouts, "Turn it down." Do you immediately reach out and turn the knob down quickly, or do you go reluctantly and gradually turn it down? Let me show you what happens as we change the attack time.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową. Witam Państwa...
That's a really slow attack. It's 200 milliseconds after your mum says turn it down before the volume actually gets reduced.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie...
If we make the attack much faster, at 0 milliseconds, as soon as it reaches the threshold, it gets turned down. Watch what happens as I speed up the attack time.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową. Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy...
Okay. The release time determines how long it waits once the sound has fallen under the threshold before it releases the volume control and lets it turn itself back up again.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się
With a really long release time, it never gets time to recover. so it never turns itself back up.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej...
But with a quick release time, it will turn itself back up very quickly.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową. Witam Państwa serdecznie na...
Now then, having achieved this, I can now turn this file up a lot louder, and this control, called gain, allows you to make up for what you've chopped off. So now, watch what I can do with the gain.
Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej firmy zajmującej się ochroną przeciwpożarową. Witam Państwa serdecznie na pokładzie naszej...
I've got this a lot louder than I would be able to get it if I did not compress it. The compression effectively squashes these peaks and brings them down to the threshold. And then I can turn the whole lot up. In more advanced tuition modules, we'll be looking at musical uses for compressors. But in the meantime, just put a sound file on an audio track, put a compressor across it, and muck around. Do it until you can hear the difference. If you can hear the difference, you've probably gone too far. But don't be afraid. You can do all sorts of stuff and just experiment and get used to the sound of what a compressor does.